Hello friends, this is Scott. We're down here at the hobby farm and I bought another fruit tree. It's a nectarine tree. Now nectarines I think are much superior to peaches with texture and flavor, but we couldn't find any that were hardy to below zero. But this tree is supposedly hardy to -20. So here's a look at the orchard I've planted already. These are all apple trees. So we've got, I think, 5 apple trees, and then we have 1 pear tree, the small one on the very last ring. Now, this video is about how to plant fruit trees, or any trees, in deer country. Now, down here at the hobby farm, we've got lots of deer that are living locally. And in the winter, they'll come in here and munch all these trees. And in the summer, they don't seem to bother them. There's plenty to eat. But in the winter, you got to be concerned. So rather than worry about taking cages on and off, I'm just going to put the cages on immediately upon planting this tree. Again, this one is good supposedly good to -20. So hopefully that'll be good for down here at the hobby farm. So here, first thing I do is I get a hose. I've already measured the approximate distance between the trees and the approximate width of the hole that I want to dig. And again, I just put the hose around and I'm going to dig it 4 inches approximately outside that hose ring. And again, just removing grass. Takes the most time in planting a tree process. But as you see, the soil looks pretty good. Let's take a closer look at this soil. And I just watered yesterday and it's not even barely moist. So it takes a lot to get the water down to the roots of trees. So yeah, you always got to keep that in mind when you're planting new trees. Until they get established, you got to make sure you get enough water on them. So after I got all the sod removed and I threw that in my compost bin, I had a pretty good circle. I'm pretty pleased with that circle. And they always talk about 50-50 mix between planting mix and native soil. And so this is how I do it when I'm doing a ring this big. But first, let's look at the tag on this tree and get to some of the particulars. Again, it's just a nectarine. Doesn't give us any particular name other than that. But looking at the tag, it is, you want to space them 15 to 25 feet, hardiness to -20, and want moderate moisture. So again, back to how I do the 50-50 mix is I just take 1 bag of any type of grow mix. And this one is for plants and shrubs. And I'm just going to mix it on the surface. And then I'm going to take my shovel and I'm going to actually dig the hole. And I'm worried about digging a hole that's probably twice as big as the bucket. I'm not going to worry too much about the depth because, again, this tree needs to be planted at the same height approximately as the tree sits in the pot. I'm going to work my way around the hole a couple times and make sure I mix this mix in with the native soil and try to achieve that 50% or that 50-50 ratio, I should say. But it's not a deep hole. I think that the pot is only probably a foot to 14 inches deep. And so, again, I'm not going to worry too much about the depth. I want to put a little bit of planting mix on the bottom just so that the roots in the bottom have a place to get started. But overall, just make sure that the width of the hole is about twice the width of the bucket. I always set the pot in the hole just to make sure that I've got the right depth approximately. Now, this will be mounted up a little bit, so I want it a little bit higher as I'll be adding mulch. And to get the tree out of the pot is you just bang the sides. And the tree generally will lift right out of that bucket. So there you go. So I set it down there, take another look. And then I see there's pretty root bound. So what I'm going to do is I always want to make sure that I break up those roots. And I don't want to do anything too drastic, but I just want to break the roots on the outside of the ball. And just take my hori knife and just slice through those roots so that they have an opportunity to not just grow in a ring, but they can actually grow out into the soil. If you don't do that, then the tree is kind of root bound, and it takes a while for the tree to be able to recover from that, so you got to break those roots up. And I'll also break up the bottom of the root ball here in a minute, and just to break those up a little bit, just so that they can start growing in different directions, and put that tree back in the hole, get it situated and straightened up, and then start hand filling with my hands. And I don't want to fill it all the way up because I want to water it first, but I want to get it so that it's going to be standing up on its own. So I have a bucket of water with me, and I'm just going to fill that in right away. Let it soak in really good before I put all the soil in. Again, sometimes water doesn't get to where it needs to go. So it's always good to water a couple times. You water about halfway through the planting process, and then when you get it all planted, you water it again. Now I'm using my feet again as the best tools to do this job. Is just just mound the soil up around the root ball, and you'll see me. I'll step in there and try to firm it down. I don't want to compress the soil too much or compact it. I just want firm soil contact with the roots, and I make sure the tree is standing nice and straight, and get that whole root ball covered up with soil, just to make sure that it has a good chance at it being a healthy tree. And again, I water when I have the tree planted, and I'm just gonna get the top of the soil moistened, and then I'm just gonna let the hose run in there for a while until that ring gets filled up. And as you see, there's plenty of water there, so that tree will get a good drink to start its life. Then I went to the hardware store. I needed some T-posts, so I went and grabbed 4 T-posts. And I had some wire already from the backyard that I had. And I'm just pounding those T-posts into the ground with my T-post driver. And, the soil's nice and moist, so it's really easy to get it in. But as you notice, the first 2 go in pretty quick. A few hits and they're already in. But the last 2, it seemed like I hit some rock. And so I must have found the rock quarry in here, because I pounded on these a little bit and they're not moving. So I'm going to have to do a little adjustment here. But I'm going to move this post out a little bit, see if I can find a spot that's not going to be impacted by the dirt or the rocks. And I'll try it again. And again, this is not a hard project, especially when the soil is this moist. But this was a little bit more difficult than I've faced in the past with the other trees. I didn't hit any rocks when I was planting the other trees. But so those posts drive in. That one's still wobbly. I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on that one, because I think I'm still on the rocks. So I don't know what's going on underneath the soil there, but it is what it is. You just got to keep messing with them. I'm going to move this one again and see if I can get a better placement. And that looks like it might be a little softer there. So we'll hit it again and see if we can get that to drive in. I'm just driving it in past the bottom there. As you see, that's all you need. And so that one finally went in. So I found a couple buckets of wood chips that were back in the back that I brought last year. And just 2 buckets worth is all. I need to bring a whole truckload of bark or wood chips to do all the trees, as well as some of the other plantings. So I just want to put a little bit of mulch down just to try to keep the moisture in. I should be back down to the hobby farm pretty soon, so I don't think there'll be any chance of this tree drying out. But I wanted to give it a little bit of insurance there by putting a couple buckets of wood chips. And that'll keep the moisture in until I get back here with a bunch more. Next step is installing the wire. And a pretty simple process. I didn't even bother to tie up the initial end. I just hooked it around the first post. And they've got little notches, so the wire will generally hang onto that while you're working your way around. You see it's a little windy. You see the bucket rolling around behind me. And just putting this wire right around. Very simple. And again, we've got our circle already made, so it's just simply bringing it around until we have the right amount. And tucking it in a little bit, making sure I have enough. And then the next step will be to grab the cutters and just, these are just needle nose. I'm just cutting the wire just to get rid of the excess. So I should have enough wire there maybe to do one more cage. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. But again, this is just welded wire. This is not the woven wire. Again, these are not for livestock. This is just keeping deer out. And deer are not that tough on wire, I don't think. At least I haven't faced in the first couple of years. Now, if this was horses and cows, I would definitely be more concerned about the condition of the wire and making sure I tied it in really good. As you'll see in the pasture, they're a little hard on the pasture trees. But one lesson I learned from when I first did my first trees is I initially wired them really tight. And so they were a pain in the butt to get back open when I needed to clean them out. And I realized that deer are not that aggressive. If you deter them, they're not going to keep, going after these trees, apparently. So I'm just using a couple zip ties, and that way I can break them and open these cages to weed and do it very simply rather than having a major project. So, a couple zip ties is all we need. And I'm just going to cut the ends off, just so they're not the tag ends of the zip ties are not sticking out, but there you go. There's a look at a fully installed tree in deer country. And again, a couple of these trees have been in the ground a couple of years and survived a couple winters, and deer didn't touch them, and had no damage last year. So there's a look. Again, nice and watered in and protected with the wire ring. And here's a look at the whole orchard. And again, I did a video recently about cleaning out those rings and making them a little bigger so that the grass doesn't grow up inside the ring. And I have, a few weeds and a little bit of grass coming back. So when I bring the wood chips in the near future, I'll reopen the rings and I'll pick out the few weeds, grass that's infiltrated the cages. But overall, looking pretty good. We have a nice little orchard down here. We have 7 trees so far, and we'll probably plant another one. Well, thanks for watching this video. And if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment. Thank you for watching.